Well, since 1995, when I really got informed, started getting informed. I was politically active in college, and I would say more informed than, say, the average Joe, but I was still kind of in the left-right paradigm, kind of like a mainline Ron Paul supporter. And early on, I learned who the enemy of the Republic was, a great enemy, a kind of a new type, a new generation of a George Shultz, super gopher for the New World Order, or a Henry Kissinger, or as a Zbigniew Brzezinski, and that's Rahm Emanuel. He is a total anti-gunner. He wants to ban Americans owning firearms, basically. He spearheaded the assault weapons ban. He spearheaded NAFTA and GATT. He is the man that gets jobs done. And he has sworn to get our guns. That's the new chief of staff. They're talking about a bunch of other appointments. It looks really bad, folks. And I don't want to be associated with the really just mindless, hateful, and by hateful, a lot of them have attacked me and made stuff up or exaggerated or twisted things I've said. And they all fight with each other. And so that's a distasteful group as well. But at the same time, I'm a USA First guy and a Second Amendment guy, number one, and a First Amendment guy. I mean, that comes first for me, and I just got to say it. I mean, it was one thing with the last administration, and I was hoping it was a fluke and was going to stop. But, I mean, come on, folks. Every key person in the Bush administration and now in this next administration just so happen to be the sons and daughters of the founders of Israel and Mossad chiefs and people, and they're openly not even really U.S. citizens, and they openly are at the head of the table in anti-gun operations in the U.S., and I'm sick of it. I mean, Rahm Emanuel's been in the Israeli military. He gets up on news and says he's Israel first. And I've had enough of it. I mean, I am really getting sick of it. I am really getting tired of it. Now, I'm against Schwarzenegger being a foreigner. And he's over here anti-gun, and he also wants all these carbon taxes and the rest of it. So, it's the same thing. I'm sick of it. But we don't have, Austrians in every, major power position. British intel's deeply infiltrated and got their people everywhere, too. And that's bad, but I'm not going to, it's one thing to have powerful elements of the Israeli lobby all over the Bush administration and to have them being, some of the most energetic cheerleaders for the Patriot Act and torture and police state measures and warrantless spying. That's bad. But to now have Rahm Emanuel, whose father was one of the head terrorists that founded Israel, and Rahm Emanuel himself is in the Israeli military, Israeli intelligence, dual citizen. I mean, I'd be against having the chief of staff be British and openly have worked for the British government. I would be against Arnold Schwarzenegger being in this cabinet, which they're talking about doing. It's bad. On its face, it's wrong. On its face, it stinks to high heaven. And in Haaretz, in the Jerusalem Post, in the agency French press, these are the headlines. Obama's choice for chief of staff puts Israel's man in the White House. And that's the headline in Israel. We run the White House. We've got the White House. I mean, but then as an American citizen, I'm not supposed to mention that. I'm supposed to just sit down and shut up and go along with that. Now, to add insult to injury here, I mean, do you need to have questionable birth, or have your lineage in this country be about a centimeter deep like Obama to be president now? Do you have to not be born here and say that you want to be a Hitler dictator to be a governor? Do you have to be an open, Mossad officer like Chertoff or Mukasey or Rahm Emanuel? I mean, do you have to be a foreigner to run our government? I mean, it's not enough that Israeli government runs the company that does 98% of caller ID and phone tracking in the nation. That's been mainstream news. Is it not enough that Israel has the sole contract to, quote, guard the nuclear weapons? Our own government doesn't even have control of them. Is it not enough that Israel had fingerprints all over 9/11?
Yeah, baby.
The executive branch is nothing but a nozzle to suck up the wealth and the treasury of this country and offshore it. The Congress is completely ceremonial. And until we start admitting the Congress has handed over its authority, was threatened with martial law when they were getting 1,000-to-1 phone calls against the banker takeover bill, and they did it because they know they're threatened with martial law, they're threatened with the media destroying them. They are ceremonial. They have been cowed. They are afraid because they know they'll be killed, they'll be set up, they'll be destroyed. They know that. This country is now under total darkness. This nation is now completely and totally under international crime syndicate control. A consortium of wicked robber barons, black nobility, that is the old royal families of Europe, intermarried and interbred with the Rothschilds.
Shit, Alex, go.
And the Rockefellers. I mean, go read the newspapers. That's all admitted right there. They don't even hide this stuff. And so if Agency French Press and Jerusalem Post can run headlines with Israel's man in the White House, I mean, go read it for yourself up on Infowars.com, PrisonBuddy.com. I would be against that, period. Having these people openly say, oh, I work for the Mossad. I mean, the Attorney General, Mukasey, the Homeland Security Director, Chertoff, his mother and father, both founders of Israel and Mossad. And he openly says, Israel first. And then we have Rahm Emanuel and all these other people, and they don't even care. They just say, yeah. Yeah, and we're going to take your guns. And you know what? The churches, the Zionist churches, the mainline Christians, the phony Christians. I'm a Christian. People misunderstood what I said yesterday. I said these phony Christians saying lay down, wait for the rapture. And FEMA and Homeland Security hiring 24,000 preachers to go around and give their flocks sermons saying turn your guns in, submit to government. And they've got the heads of major denominations on TV saying it right now. I mean, folks, this is life and death now. This government is totally bankrupt and totally criminal. And now the mindless left, who could see the police state under Bush, they're now completely blind and cheerleading Obama, the new puppet who runs nothing.